Good morning, all. Respected Vice President, ma'am, both the Vice Presidents, and Dean, ma'am, and dear faculty members, and all the students of Sathyabama who are in the legal department. Now, last year, our firm, we hosted UN International Conference on UN 80, Developments, Issues and Challenges, in association with the Tamil Nadu National University at Trichy. On a request, foreign ambassador of the country, then some international court judges and other dignitaries participated in the event. We had an excellent session for about 3 days. Now, we are at the crossroads. UN 80. UN was started 8 years ago. Now, at the right moment, in a right scenario, Sathyabama has come out with a very modern, innovative approach. I think I should thank the organizers for doing this excellent thought-provoking idea. I think hats off to them. I think students, you should applaud yourselves. And more than that, specifically if you talk, when I entered into your college premises, I was surprised to see one of the important developments of UN goal is inscribed in your logo of the university itself. Because I thought with the legal innovation that done JPR, your founder chancellor, JPR means they have given explanation: justice, peace and revolution. So I think this is what the testimony of UN stands for. If you take UN in a broader perspective, this conference is very, very important. It will be a path-breaking, a social transformative tool, and engage all the students to have a deliberative dialogue and exercise to be a global change maker in the era of crisis. Now we are living in the world of uncertainty. You have a climate change and disarmament and security. These three things have become the major challenges for UN. If you take that UN in the 1945, why the United Nations came into existence, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the then president of US, FDR, initiated the idea of the United Nations. That means all the countries, nations should come united. That is United Nations. And in memory of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, later on, the United Nations, the name was coined. Now, if you take the preamble of that UN Charter itself, it clearly says to save the succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which has caused untold miseries, suffering to human mankind. We had two world wars, 1914 to 1918, 1939 to 45, two world wars, which led to a very catastrophic damage and unimaginable negative adversarial impact in the name of genocide, lot of other ethnic cleansing, lot of other activities which had shocked the nation. Albert Einstein, who said, if the third world war is fought, man will go back to the ancient age of Stone Age. That means the world will come to an end. That's the reason to prevent. Now your Vice President, ma'am, she mentioned about Nelson Mandela, the great leader who fought against apartheid in South Africa. Now, it seems to be impossible until it is done. That's what she quoted. The same Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which can change the world. If you want to change the world, how can you change the world? Lawyers are social engineers, as per the statement by Roscoe Pond. So lawyers are a social scientist, like the engineers who build the bridges. Lawyers doing a very, very positive and a very pivotal role in changing the dynamics of the society. Now, traditionally we used to say, think global, act local. If you take the United Nations concept, you should think global, act global. How can I act global? Because if you take United Nations itself, it has got two important perspectives. One, they are the global policy maker, and another is global manager and global legal counsel. If you are a lawyer, after an illustrious record, any lawyer if you take, what is your future ambition? As a student of Sathyabama anywhere across the globe. Lawyers, they would say one thing, I want to be head an organization, CEO of a company, or I want to be a chief justice of a country, or I want to be a change or policy maker, or a member of the parliament, or the president, or the prime minister. Now, as an international lawyer, if you visualize this scenario, this is very important because you have to develop your mooting skills, debating skills, critical analytical skills of thinking the law from A to Z. What is this A to Z? What is that A to Z? It's nothing but Azerbaijan to Zimbabwe, anthropology to zoology. So everything you should learn, even beyond the space, outer space. Now we have got outer space. When Elon Musk is launching SpaceX on the universe, that's beyond Earth, now there is a space tourism. You might have read about Sunita Williams, who did a tremendous space journey by being in the space for about 9 months. So these sort of immeasurable, unimaginable feats and achievements are done in the international global sphere. UN is trying its level best to protect. Whether UN has got its any relevance or not, that's another question. People are debating because of the war in Kosovo, or Iraq, Syrian, Israel-Palestine issue, or Ukraine-Russian issue, lot of other humanitarian conflicts, genocide, or convention against torture. Now recently in the Guantanamo Bay, after that Iraqi invasion, Americans, they have detained lot of illegal detention was done. These people were kept. Now recently after Joe Biden was about to make an exit in the presidential tenure, he released many of the people, and these people were sent to Yemen. And that particular country refused to accept all these hostages. So they became a refugee in their own country. If you take Myanmar, there is a huge humanitarian crisis. Global impact, global change, climatic change. Because of that, Himalayan glaciers and even Antarctic is freezing. Because of the melting exercise, because of the increase in the global warming, our planet Earth itself is at stake. So we have a huge existential threat. We have a crisis in this world to preserve the world. So, as I said, United Nations, not only preventing the war from the succeeding generation, came out with a lot of conventions. It's a treatise. If you take International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, many of the conventions and treaties were enacted by the UN time and again to reaffirm and protect not on various aspects. You take, for example, Convention on the Rights of the Child. To protect the rights of the child, UN has come into existence, CRC. Then Convention on all forms of discrimination against women, CEDAW Convention. That, for example, Indian Supreme Court started following these Vishaga guidelines. Sexual harassment, prevention of sexual harassment in the public places came into effect only by the predominant or thought-provoking for five-sided role played by the UN, United Nations, because at the global level, they wanted to make a policy and influence the every state actors. Now, the Vice President ma'am was also referring to the concept of UN has not been given the permanent place in the United Nations. India is not even in a position to get it, because at that time the 5 founding nations, they became the permanent representative of the UN. Now, because of the global population increase, India is the number 1 in the world as per the population's present data. But we are not able, and also it's a third largest economy, emerging economy in the world. Despite that, India has not been given its place and position. So should we redefine the UN? Or if you take, like for example, International Court of Justice, or as I said, Convention on the Rights of the Child, or United Nations Human Rights Council, UNHRC, all these Convention on the Rights of the Child, then discrimination against apartheid or displacement, people of racial discrimination, International Convention on the discrimination, racial discrimination. You wanted to prevent the racial discrimination, you need a convention. So the UN has enacted so many treaties, conventions to protect the child, women, and there is another important convention on United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Person with the Disabilities. If you want to protect the marginalized, vulnerable people, disabilities, for example, India passed the Person with Disabilities Act. A lot of rights for protecting and strengthening the rights of the different able came into effect only after the enactment of the United Nations Conventions on the rights of the person with disabilities. So to protect, be it a children or a disabled or racial discrimination, or to protect the earth, or to protect the people against all forms of human rights. Because human rights, I think your Dean ma'am, she made a reference, poignant reference in her introductory speech. What is a human right? Because UN agency is there to protect the human rights of each and every individual. If you take Article 21 of the Constitution, no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except with a procedure established by law. So you need to have a procedure established by law, be it a capital punishment or life imprisonment, any punishment or any legal principle that you put effect, it can happen only by the due procedure process established by law, due process of law, which is a cornerstone of the United Nations principle in protecting the rights of an individual. Dignity of every person is very important. So if we take United Rights in its total principle, United Nations human rights are universal. It is universal, but at the same time, it is interconnected, interdependent, and it is indivisible. You cannot divide the human rights. You have to merge or combine all the people into one group, that is a humanity as a human being. That is that purpose of having existence, of having a life in our society, limb or existence. You cannot take a person's life or limb. That's what the Constitution says. The Abraham Lincoln also, when he wanted to emancipate from slavery, Emancipation Proclamation when he made, the same emphasis was made. So time and again it is reiterated again and again. So as I said, you have to be a global manager and global counsel. People, they want to be a counsel for a multinational company. I was an attorney at Ford. I was in US. I was working for one Bradley Gayton. My super boss was David Leach. He was a deputy general counsel for George W. Bush at White House. But as a corporate counsel, being in the corporate department, you work only for an organization. But if you people get an opportunity to serve in UN, you can play a very, very progressive and a dynamic role. That role starts from here. Participating in international conference, seminar like this, participating in the global events, deliberating or discussing about the threadbare analysis, the critical evaluative analysis by presenting papers. I think you should participate in moot court like JSUP International Moot Court Competition. Many of the law schools, leading law school, national law school in Bangalore, other law university students, they take active part. It is because as a lawyer, it's not only confined to the textbook studies. You should go for a case book studies. That is a practical evaluation of, for example, if any crisis in Israel-Palestine, you need to identify the potential humanitarian crisis. Think about it and write an article, refer Harvard Law Journals or Yale Law Journal, many of the other law journals. You can also contribute your substantial view. And also you can make a practical application. You can go and visit the places if possible. And internationally you need to think. Nowadays students at the 12th standard level itself, they are conducting model United Nations. So if you take UN Secretary General, that is a key position like a CEO post in the world level. So far, no women had occupied that post. Now recently we celebrated the Women's Day, International Women's Day. But despite March 8 being celebrated, women, they are not able to occupy the lofty or high positions in the society or in anywhere across the globe. For example, in America, though it is the most advanced country in the world, so far it has not, is not able to produce or able to get a women president so far. Hillary got a close chance, and Kamala Harris, even she contested and she couldn't get elected. If you take International Court of Justice, there is only one woman, Hogan Robbins, the only British woman lawyer who became the International Court Justice President between the period 2006 to 9. So I think here a lot of women, young lawyers are here. At the same time, lawyers are here. So you need to think in a very, very constructive, in a progressive way by participating, developing your skills. I think this is a right platform at the initial stage. So you should actively engage yourself. Look out the world events, current global developments. You have to think international law. Books like treatises like Open Hymn and Malcolm Shaw, many other expert international commentators, because international law is always based on the customary practice of international law and conventions. It's very difficult to enforce. That's why Justice Krishna Ayari said, international law is the vanishing point of jurisprudence. So if you take law itself, it's a complex situation, because law will vary from place to place, people to people, region to region. But to have a democratization, to have the democracy, to protect the rights of the people, of individual, the law exists for serving others. How can you serve others? To protect the rights of others. The weak, vulnerable, marginalized, neglected, have-nots should be protected. This is on the global level. People like Malala Yousafzai, what she did? She got the UN Nobel Peace Prize. Nobel Peace Prize. Why she got? Against a military government like in Pakistan, where there was not a democracy, theocracy, she fought to preserve the right of education for a girl. So one pen, one book, one nation can change the world. That was her motto. So that is very important. Even at she had a death threat, because women were not allowed in the fatwa system in Pakistan to go to public schools. So she broke all the stereotype. So you have to break the convention. You should be unconventional lawyer. How can be unconventional lawyer? When you think radically, radical thoughts with proliferating ideas. We only talk about NPT treaty, non-nuclear non-proliferation treaty. But you should have a proliferative and reinvigorating, very powerful thought of dynamics in your life to change the course of destiny. So you are studying Sathyabama. The purpose and the motto should be justice, peace and revolution. So what is justice? To act against injustice of tyranny. Peace. You need to have a global peace. How peace can come? When people they live in a conflicting society, in a coexistence, you need to live with others in a peaceful way for betterment of humanity. Because only through peace there can be progress. Only through progress there can be development. So, and revolution can happen when all the people's rights are protected, be it food revolution or social revolution, so many other revolutions. We need to act progressively. So I think it's a very novel, innovative, progressive, dynamic idea. Thanks for this opportunity. And all the students should act in a concerted way and actively. Every student should participate. I think don't be on the backbench on this particular aspect. Whether you win or lose, that's a different thing. But you should make an earnest attempt. You should try, strive, work hard with patience, determination, dedication to reach the goal of excellence. So I wish you all the best, and you should work hard, strive hard, so that you should be the global, international legal experts, jurists or the policy makers at the United Nations level by bringing credit to the country, to your institution, place where you come from. And thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you for your thought-provoking speech, sir. It was truly inspiring. I now call upon Ms. Tarini from School of Law